On the show today, we're going to take a look at the top remaining NFL free agents. So with that, we start today's show with a poll question. This will be our pinned comment. Thread your responses. Name a free agent still available that you want your squad to sign. And with that, let's get the show underway. Happy Friday, raise a glass, it's St. Patrick's Day. You're watching NFL Daily by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for joining us. And today's show is sponsored by Kanzuri. 15% off of their height-boosting shoes at kanzuri.com/chat. We'll tell you more about that coming up later on today's episode. As for what we're diving into, mention it off the top of the show, it's day 5 of 2023 NFL free agency. Still a lot of good players left. So, we're going to take a look at the top 25 remaining free agents who are still available to sign with all 32 teams across the National Football League. At number 25, Drue Tranquill starts us off, the linebacker for the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers did bring in Eric Kendricks after he was let go by the Minnesota Vikings. Checking in at number 24, Ezekiel Elliott, arguably one of the more productive backs in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. You take a look at what he's done over the last 4 years. He has decreased in production, and the eye test kind of tells you he might be trending toward being a little bit washed, but if you're looking for a power back and a guy who's still one of the best backs in the NFL at turning garbage into gold on short yardage situations, Ezekiel Elliott can do that. I'm looking at a team like the Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals. They both make sense for Zeke. Taylor Lewan also still available. He doesn't want to play right tackle. He said that he can't play right tackle. So he fulfills a need for a team looking for a left tackle to potentially protect the blind side for a right-handed quarterback or the front side for a left-handed quarterback. Speaking of tackles, Isaiah Wynn, the product out of Georgia, has gotten off to a little bit of a rocky start in his NFL career. He's flashed. There have been some good moments. There have been some inconsistencies, and that's with a Patriots organization that does a great job with developing offensive linemen. Devin Singletary, if you're looking for a back, he's still young, in his mid-20s, but for the Buffalo Bills, that running attack has been trending toward being a little bit too weak. They've been way too pass-reliant with Josh Allen. I think he's a back who could play. I just think it's a byproduct of that scheme not being friendly to running backs having large production, and the offensive line doesn't do a great job of getting downhill. Jadeveon Clowney, another older player, big name, kind of like Ezekiel Elliott, a defensive end who's really played in a 3-4 scheme, but I think that he can slide inside on a 4-3 scheme as well. I like his versatility. I think this is going to be a classic look. I'm not going to sign with the team until later on in the process. I don't want to go through some of these offseason workouts and training camp. He'll be late signing, in my opinion. Marcus Peters, 30 years old. Couple of injury-plagued seasons over the last couple of years. He can give you serviceable defensive back play at this point of his career, and we know he gives you a lot of confidence and swagger. Julian Love, the safety. He ripped Nick Sirianni a couple of weeks ago. He ain't scared to speak his mind, and I kind of like his game. Now, it's funny because he struggled in a couple of games against the Philadelphia Eagles this year, but outside of that, he was a pretty solid safety for the New York Football Giants. You look at what he did in 16 games played this past season, 124 tackles, as he's a pretty good tackler, especially out in the open field, not afraid to get his body in there on some of the action. 6 tackles for loss, so he can play a little bit around that line of scrimmage. 5 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. I imagine the Giants would like to bring him back. It just comes down to the price tag. One of the top remaining cornerbacks available is Sean Murphy-Bunting. Solid player for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the last couple of years, and you kind of look at the free agency market thus far and some of the deals that cornerbacks have gotten. James Bradbury, $12.5 million. Sean Murphy-Bunting's teammate in Jamel Dean hovered around $13 million per year. Darius Slay with his restructured contract, about $14 million over the next 3 years. What does Sean Murphy-Bunting get? The market has certainly been dictated out there. Myles Jack, linebacker, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He got off to a nice start with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm actually surprised that he didn't stick with the pretty solid defense with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a pretty good player who I happen to like quite a bit in Myles Jack. They were looking at bringing back potentially Devin Bush, who did a really good job with that organization over the last couple of years. We'll see what happens with Pittsburgh and what they elect to do. So that's number 16 for Myles Jack. That means we have 15 players still left to get to on our top free agents list. What do we got to get to now? Brand new sponsor here at Chat Sports and on NFL Daily. It is Kanzeri. You can get 15% off by using the promo code CHAT. What is Kanzeri? Well, fellas, are you tired of feeling insecure about your height? Kanzeri makes shoes that can add up to 2.8 inches to your height discreetly. Women get heels, makeup, and push-up bras. Why can't men get a confidence boost as well? We're all the same height laying down anyway, if you know what I mean. Kanzeri shoes, not only height boosting, but also stylish and comfortable. They're not grandpa's Velcro shoes, though. They look fresh, they look fashionable, and they can receive compliments even without the height increase. The height insoles integrated into the shoes, making it the ultimate height hack. For a limited time only, for all the NFL fans out there, Kanzeri offering our viewers an exclusive discount of 15% on top of their up to 30% site-wide discount. So make sure you use the code CHAT as we've been showing you. A couple of different styles available. That's CONZURI.com/chat. When I want to get high, I put on a pair of Kanzeris. The link is available in the comment section and in the description of this video. Let's move forward on this list. As I said earlier, a lot of good free agents still left, and Bud Dupree, certainly one of them. For him, it all comes down to, can he stay available? Can he stay healthy? One of the better pure pass rushers in this game when he is able to stay on the field, but he signed that large deal with the Tennessee Titans, hasn't been able to stay healthy. Adam Thielen, injuries aren't really a concern for him. It's more so he was a little bit too expensive for the Vikings' liking. They got rid of Eric Kendricks. They got rid of Adam Thielen to clear up some money. And he's been a little bit overshadowed by how elite Justin Jefferson has been. Now, for Adam Thielen, he had back-to-back years in which he surpassed well over 1,000 yards receiving. And over the last 4, production hasn't been the same. But if you're looking for a number 3, number 4 wide receiver, especially a guy who can play outside, inside, clean technician of a route runner, and he's put up 900, 700 plus yards over the last 3 years. He's certainly been productive, and you look at the touchdowns there as well. 30 touchdowns. Simple math shows you that is 10 per year. Poona Ford, defensive tackle, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks. Will he go back to the Seattle Seahawks? We'll certainly see on that. Now, what's interesting is the wide receiver market. If you remember last year in free agency, Christian Kirk completely blew that market up. This year, it's been a little bit slower and not as, I guess, large in terms of the financials because the wide receiver class isn't as good as it was last year. Jacoby Myers really cashed in with that large deal. Paris Campbell only got less than $4 million per year without incentives there. I think Mecole Hardman is a very good player and a Swiss Army knife for a respective offense. DJ Chark, also a pretty solid player as we stick with this wide receiver position. Production, talent, and ability. Not issues with DJ Chark. He's just been injured over the last couple of years. Couple of good years with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and last year for the upstart Detroit Lions. When he did play, he was actually pretty productive. Another team looking for that number 2 maybe on a weak receiving core. Number 3, number 4, DJ Chark could certainly fill in. So with that, we have a couple of poll questions throughout today's show, of course. And since we're on the topic of conversation for some wide receivers here over this last 5 set of players on our top free agency list, I want you to pick a wide receiver that you'd rather sign. Mecole Hardman, DJ Chark, Adam Thielen. If you ask me, I'm going with the younger player. I'm going with the guy who I think still has ability that he hasn't been able to display. If he's featured more heavily in an offense, I think he can be that Swiss Army knife. I'm going Mecole Hardman. Rock Ya-Sin, formerly of the Las Vegas Raiders, visiting a couple of teams in NFL free agency. This is a pretty solid corner who I believe is a pretty solid player. And if you have him as your number 2 corner, you're in a pretty good spot, is not afraid to get physical. Frank Clark is 3rd all-time in the history of the NFL playoffs in sacks. The regular season production for sacks, solid. The postseason production for getting after the quarterback is elite. He turns it on when you need him to the most, when the lights are shining the brightest. Frank Clark, because of that, and I still think that he has some ability and gas left in the tank. I think he's going to get a nice little contract, but what's interesting, the defensive end market, also a little bit of a stalemate right now. Dalton Risner, offensive guard for the Denver Broncos. A lot of teams looking for offensive line help. The Denver Broncos gave Mike McGlinchey the bag, and because of that, they probably cannot pay him. Leonard Floyd, in each of his last 3 years, he has had at least 9 sacks. I'm not sure if he's a number 1 edge rusher. In fact, I don't think he is. I think he's better slotted along a defensive line with a lot of other talent. Like when he's playing alongside Aaron Donald, that allows him to not face as many double teams, and because of that, you see the sack production has been awesome with the Los Angeles Rams this last 3 years as he goes out to LA and was able to really rejuvenate his career to a certain degree. 10.5 sacks in 2020, 9.5 in 2021, 9 more in 2022. If you put him on a defensive line with another really good player, I think you'll see him hover around 8, 9, maybe even double-digit sacks. Isaac Seumalo, best right guard left in my opinion, and probably the best right guard in this free agency class. He was a member of an Eagles offensive line in which all 5 starters were either an All-Pro, a Pro Bowler, or a Pro Bowl alternate. Isaac Seumalo getting those honors as well. Has left guard experience. He played that for a couple of years coming out of Oregon State. Switched over to right guard. He was really, really good in pass protection. Can get a little bit better run blocking, but he can get downhill and is pretty good in space on some of those pull blocks. Make sure you subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. If you love the National Football League, we are certainly the channel for you. We were live every single day for NFL free agency, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Our NFL draft coverage is going to be phenomenal. It's the most watched here on YouTube. Somebody compete with us. I dare you. And if you haven't subscribed, you ain't alive. Now we're inside the top 5. Odell Beckham Jr. I thought he looked pretty good in his workout out in Arizona last Friday. And the reports of him wanting $20 million per year, it's a joke. If a team pays him $20 million per year, that's wild. That's borderline top 5 wide receiver money for a guy who didn't even play in 2022, coming off his second torn ACL, and the production has certainly gone down, and the injuries have increased. In 2019, last season in which he surpassed 1,000 receiving yards. That was a little while ago, folks. Played in 7 games with the Browns in 2020, 14 games played with the Browns and the Rams in 2021, but down the stretch, he was very good in the playoffs for Los Angeles en route to that Super Bowl and in the Super Bowl. Did he tear his ACL? Yes. He also had a touchdown catch, though, as well. Dalton Schultz. I don't think he's going to go back to the Dallas Cowboys. Frankly, I'm not sure they're able to afford him. Last year, really the best season of his career, in my opinion, in terms of being an all-around tight end and a really good pass catcher. You put him down the seam, he can certainly cause some problems against opposing defenses. 57 catches, 577 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Really had a good connection with Dak Prescott a year ago. Bobby Wagner is up there in age, but he continues to have an uptick in tackles. This guy was one of the highest-graded linebackers in the NFL last year, member of the 2010s All-Decade team. Ever since he's been in the NFL, he's been named to an All-Pro team 9 times. He is bound for Canton. He's going to be rocking the brown jacket, and last year for LA, 140 tackles for the Los Angeles Rams. I think that if you get him at an affordable price, that will come as a steal. Yannick Ngakoue. Let's talk about him for a little while here. I don't understand the lack of market for Yannick Ngakoue. I'm not sure why teams who are desperate for pass rush help, and in today's NFL, in which it's an offensive-laden era, in which a lot of teams air it out all the time, why teams are not more interested in a guy who's 27 years old, and in every year that he's been in the NFL, he has tallied at least 8 sacks. This guy is really good. If you're a nerd and you look at the Pro Football Focus numbers and you see that his pass rush grade isn't all that great, look, all I got to do is turn on the tape and know this guy is a sack machine. Finally, checking in at number 1. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He tweeted out on Thursday that the disrespect is real. Does that mean that he doesn't have much of a market in free agency? Does that mean that teams aren't willing to pay him a lot of money at that safety spot? We saw Jordan Poyer get paid. We saw Jesse Bates get paid. And I think that C.J. Gardner-Johnson played as well, if not better, than those two aforementioned safeties last year. Here's the deal. C.J. Gardner-Johnson has 1 year of starting experience at safety. He only played in 12 games a year ago in his first season as a full-time safety, and he tied for the NFL league high with 6 interceptions. He said if he played a full year, he would have had 12. I think that's lofty, but this guy is a dog. This guy has bounds of swagger. This is a building block for your defense. I think that you can use him as a Malcolm Jenkins, Honey Badger type of player, where if he needs to fill in the slot, if you need him to play on the back end at safety, he can do it. He can flourish. He can play well, and I think he is a phenomenal player. I'm very surprised he hasn't signed anywhere yet. So that does it for our top 25 NFL free agents on day 5 of free agency. Appreciate all of you for rocking with us. One more time, name a free agent still available you want your squad to sign, and have a fantastic weekend. And bottoms up, it's St. Patty's Day. Drink a Guinness.